been found effective. There are many of them, and there's no particular rule about which one would work with which person. And I know that there are very few psychiatrists who are available in Nigeria to prescribe medications, but you should just know that some cases of severe depression are greatly helped by medication, and there are a number of medications available. So those are my general comments, and I'm happy to take a follow-up question if you have one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. A round of applause for Mr. Paul. Thank you. The last question, don't worry, I'll put it in. The last question, Mr. Smith will ask the last question, and that will be the last question for the day.
Good afternoon, Mr. Paul.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yes, this is Smith Oluwafemi.
FTGR.
My question is part of the question she asked. Well, all of us are depressed from this trauma, and the question I want to ask is, when you are depressed and you seem not to get out of this depression, and even with the counseling and psychological advice, and you can still get out of this depression, and you see yourself being depressed because of the past, even before you got visually impaired. And even if a pastor prays for you or an imam prays for you, these things still don't leave your mind. How do you cope with this kind of thing? Because it's like the person's mind is already stoned. Nothing. As we are talking, since I've been telling my mind, but how do you deal with that kind of person?
First of all, regarding the question in the chat, is it okay to take one or two more questions? I'm fine. I have until half past the hour, so I'm fine. I only have about 10 after the hour right now. Regarding your question, sir, about how do you cope? First of all, remember that it's a lifetime of coping. It's not something that one would do and then be done with it. And different challenges happen over the course of life. So, if you had your trauma or your challenge when you were younger, you were a different person than you are today, and you're a different person than you will be 10 years from now. So keep in mind that it is, some people say that it's a marathon race, that you got to get your pace so that you can make it through. So I guess I'd want to talk to you more specifically about what's your expectation. And is your expectation based on what you think is right for you, or is your expectation based on what others think is right for you? Is the expectation that I should never be depressed at all? Well, I think that's an improper expectation. People that have had serious traumas have serious emotional reactions to them, and that's understandable. If they didn't have a reaction to a serious trauma, I'd be more worried about them. The fact that you are feeling depressed because of a trauma that you had shows that you are human, that you are sensitive, and that you are trying to figure it out. So don't walk around with the expectation that somehow I got to shake this off and just act like it's nothing ever happened. No, something happened and you can never forget it. But how can you turn it into something that makes it unique for you? These are easy words for me to say, and it would be a lot of hard work for us together to work on to figure out how to make it happen for you. But I do want you to keep your expectations in mind. Don't let other people tell you what your expectations are. Make the expectations for yourself. Let me pause there and see if you have a comment or question about what I said.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
What is this? He said something, comment.
Go ahead. Yeah, comment. Go ahead.
My comment, as you said, you want to speak to me especially. I heard you. Thank you very much.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Thank you, Mr. Paul.
All the best to you.
A round of applause, please, for Mr. Paul. Thank you, Mr. Paul. We have gotten it. Mr. Paul said, let me just emphasize a little bit on what Mr. Paul has just said now. Smith asked a question concerning depression, that for someone whose heart is already, stoned, hardened concerning depression, Mr. Paul is saying that it shows he is a human being. So for you to be depressed shows you are a human being, but at the same time, you should think of your goal, your aspiration. What do you set for yourself? Don't look at what others are thinking about you. That's what he's saying now. Don't mind what people are saying about you. Set your own goals and work towards it. That alone will now push away that depression. Are you getting me? Yeah, that's why many of you now who are doing your bid bags, doing these things, selling things and making small money, you discover that depression is leaving gradually. That is what Mr. Paul is saying. So Mr. Smith, don't allow people, don't have the notions of what people are saying. Set up your own goal and pursue it and work towards it. In that process, depression sets away. We will not be able to take more questions now. All those raising up their hand, please, Mr. Jones, you write your questions. Later, I will forward it to Mr. Paul. And
Mr. Chigozie, they can ask 1 or 2 questions. Mr. Paul has
Ms.
15 minutes.
Sorry.
Okay,
We have logistics issues here now. So
no problem. That's fine. So you can just send in their questions to us. We definitely will respond to them as soon as we can.
As I'm talking to you, what I mean by the logistic issue now, our systems are not connected any longer. So they can't hear you very loudly again. So I'm using my phone.
It's fine. I will be happy to answer any questions that you want to send and carry on the conversation. And I want to thank you all. Thank you all for your attendance.
A round of applause for Mr. Paul again, please.
And wish you the best. Please tell them thank you for me.
Thank you. They heard you very well, Mr. Paul. Thank everybody. What do we say to Mr. Paul? Mr. Paul, they are saying thank you all the way from the United States of America. You have devoted your time to address our challenges, address our situation, address our questions. We are very, very much grateful to you. We appreciate you, Mr. Paul. Thank you for partnering with us. Thank you for coming to our aid. Thank you for being our friend. Thank you for giving us free service. We are very grateful. A round of applause for him again.
Thank you. All the best, everybody. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ms. Rachel, bye. Thank you, Ms. Rachel. Let's say thank you to Ms. Rachel as well.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Paul.
you.
Bye. We are grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Definitely, we would keep in touch. So, like Mr. Chigozie said, if you have more questions, send it to him, and he will send it to us. And then I would also share, if you want to contact Mr. Paul after now, I would also share his email so that you can get in touch with him.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Rachel.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye.
You all have a wonderful day. Bye.
And you too. Bye-bye.